And our next speaker is Wendy Trass. She is a Master of Information candidate at the University of Toronto's iSchool. Before studying at the iSchool, she designed eco-friendly clothing, taught undergraduate sociology courses, and worked as a note-taker for deaf and hard of hearing college students. She has an MA in sociology from Rutgers University and studied sociology as an undergraduate at Brock University. Wendy currently works as a graduate student library assistant on the reference desk at the OCULA Library and volunteers as a virtual reference provider for Ask On. She is interested in information literacy instruction and would like to pursue a career as an academic librarian where she can facilitate research, teach, and provide reference support. Over to you.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay. I thought I was going to be nervous, but this is going to be fun, you guys. Because I'm going to talk to you about data visualizations. How can we use data visualizations to promote data and statistical literacy in the classroom? And what can we learn from data journalists who are doing a lot in this area? So what the heck is data literacy? What is statistical literacy? Most people know what information literacy is. There have been many standards developed around this, the ACRLs, Information Literacy Competency Standards for Higher Education. To briefly summarize them, an information literate individual knows that they need information, they know where to find information, they think critically about information, and they use it ethically. What about statistical literacy, data literacy? Milo Shield has done a lot of work in this area, and he's defined these. He argues that these are distinct things, and they have specific skill sets associated with them. So for statistical literacy, he talks about a mathematical or numerical skill set. So you need to know what a percentage is, and average, and mode, and mean, and all that stuff. You also need to know a little bit about research methods. You need to know how data is collected. How does it become a statistic? And that requires a certain level of critical thinking about the socially constructed nature of statistics as well. Data literacy, he argues, requires a certain technical set of competencies because there's a lot of software involved. So you need to know not only where to get a great data set, but you need to know how to convert it into a statistical software package like SPSS or SAS or something like this. And you need to know how to operate those programs so that you can generate new statistics as well. And then you also need to know how to present that information. So you're going to need to know about visualization software, and that can take a range of options, everything from PowerPoint to Microsoft Visio or Adobe Illustrator, things like that. Now, in terms of delivering information literacy instruction, most people agree, like how do we teach this stuff, right? Most people agree that the best way to do that is to create an environment where students are actually working with the tools that you want them to learn. They retain that better. This is based on this idea of situated cognition. Basically, we learn by doing, not by memorizing or rote learning or anything like this. You need to be exploring on your own in activities that are relevant to you. And so what I'm arguing here is that if you can, as academic literacy instructors, if we design assignments around data visualizations, you're creating a really great environment for students to be exploring the tools and the resources and the skills that you want them to learn in order to be more statistically or data literate. So what are information graphics? They're very popular right now, but they're not at all new. Information graphics basically tell a story about data in a visual format. So they're pictures about data, basically. So these two images are from a 1923 publication on how to make effective information graphics. I think they're very charming. And I think they're also really great examples of effective information graphics because you don't really have to look at the text too much to understand what story is being told about this data. And of course, information graphics are crazy trendy right now. Everybody's using them everywhere. This is an information graphic about information graphics. So we've reached meta status, for better or worse. This originally appeared in Wired magazine and then in Good magazine for a feature called How Not to Suck at Designing Infographics. So journalists are doing a lot to develop this trend. there's a thing called data journalism, and I think it's kind of exciting. It can basically be defined as data-driven investigative reporting that often utilizes graphics to tell the story. And a notable example, a local example, was from the Toronto Star. Last year they did a story called Known to Police. It was shortlisted for a data journalism award. And this story is interesting. It's about racial profiling by Toronto police, and basically the reporters access data held by the Toronto Police Services. So every time a police officer stops anyone for whatever reason, they need to fill out what's known as a contact card, which contains all kinds of information about that person, including demographic information, and that gets stored in a contact card database. And that database is what this story is based on. And check it out, it's very interesting. Spoiler alert, this racial profiling. So there are actually tons of resources of really great data journalism out there, and if you're interested in learning more, you should check out The Guardian UK. They have a significant portion of their website set up to data journalism, as well as data sets, if you're interested. There's also Gapminder, which I think is a really interesting example. It's set up by Hans Rosling, which a lot of people know. He did that great statistics TED Talk. So he set up a website called Gapminder, and it's oriented to teachers about how to bring data into your classroom. So there are all kinds of activities and resources and tips and lesson plans for teachers. You can also check out the Data Journalism Handbook, which is exactly what it sounds like it is, and it's free, it's online. If you wanted to get started with visualizations, you can check out Visually or Easily. Visually gives a great overview of all kinds of different visualization tools and resources, most of which are freely available. Easily is it helps you make an infographic online. And if you just want some sources of inspiration, some beautiful infographics that graphic designers just made so beautiful, you can look at Information is Beautiful or Good Magazine. So chances are you're not going to hit it right out of the park right away. I have no idea how to design these beautiful infographics. Probably you won't get your students to design these beautiful infographics right away. But the point is, you can very easily get started by bringing these into your classroom without knowing what you're doing, because there are so many resources out there, and so many of them are free. And I think that these kinds of assignments really spark creativity in students, so they may not be as polished as what you see in newspapers, but they can be really exciting. Who knows what will develop? So exactly what kind of assignments am I talking about? I'm talking about assignments that will generate these kinds of learning outcomes. And I know that socially constructed isn't a learning outcome, but you know what I mean. So I'm talking about different kinds of assignments based around an information visualization that would fit in a variety of formats. So everything from a short standalone workshop offered by a library in the library to something that an embedded librarian could do, working with faculty to design a series of assignments over the course of an entire course. So for a standalone workshop, you could do something like a lesson on how to import data into SPSS and run frequencies to get to know your data. Or you could do a workshop on design principles for infographics, which would be really fun. Embedded librarians could have a lot of fun, and they could design a series of assignments that would culminate in an information graphic at the end of term. So you could have them at the beginning of term exploring data sets and finding a great data set, and then using a statistical software package to explore it and find a story in that data. And then students could submit data visualization at the end of term in place of an essay. That would be amazing, I think. I would be really excited about that. And so like I said, these are some of the learning outcomes that you could achieve with these kinds of assignments. So just in summary, I think it's no surprise, really, that journalists have embraced this trend so wholeheartedly. They want their stories to be seen by as many eyeballs as possible. And having a catchy image is a great way to do that. And as librarians, I think that our philosophy is actually not so different, because we want to make information accessible. In the words of Kim Silk, who is an academic librarian, a data librarian at the Martin Prosperity Institute, Visualizations can be really fresh and exciting because they call on a different part of our brain than do pure numbers. And they can be a really approachable way to teach statistics and data. And I think more broadly, in our age of info glut and information overload, giving students the opportunity to develop skills to represent information in a visual format would serve them well, I think, in a variety of environments. So, thank you.